John, you did a very extensive talk on promoting the Affordable Care Act. My comments is, first of all, that the Affordable Care Act was passed by our Congress, where not one of the representatives or the senators read the act before they voted on it.
That's not true.
Okay. Secondly, I'd like you to explain to this audience, if this is such a great act, why is it that you and your staff in the House of Representatives and all the senators and their staff are not going to pay for the premiums for this Affordable Care Act?
Where did you get that information?
I see that Mr. Obama has signed an executive order that 75 or 80% of your premium is going to be subsidized.
Well,
That's
first
true,
of all,
right? Is
let's
it true or
start.
not? Yes. Okay. So you guys don't want to pay for it.
That is
you
not
want
true.
us to pay. It's
That is not true.
Of course it is.
That is not true. All right, can I explain?
Well, let me ask you another question.
Okay, well, all right.
It's also
Do you
gonna
want
be
the truth, or do you want to just...
Let me just finish the other part of my question is, all of the members of our illustrious IRS say they don't want to participate in the program. So this is a great program for all the peons out here. When you said, who pays for this? Well, you people ought to realize you're going to pay for his premiums in the Affordable Care Act and his staff, because Washington doesn't want to touch this. So stop. You didn't tell people the truth about all this stuff.
Can I answer the question?
I'm going to let you answer.
Okay.
I just want to tell you, you came here to get some input on a town forum.
Right.
The majority of the people in this country, 74% in all the surveys,
57%.
do not want this Affordable Care Act to go forward.
57%.
Well, there's been a lot of surveys done, but the point is, you've got a small contingency of people in Washington pushing this, but the general populace does not want it.
So,
I like it.
all right, wait. How many people here don't want
No
this
impact.
act? Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4,
It doesn't.
5.
Hold on a second.
Hold on. So now, first of all, I want to answer this question, because this comes up all the time. The question you said is that I am not in the healthcare program.
No, I'm saying you're not paying the premium.
Not paying. You're right. You know why? I'm on Medicare. What did I say at the beginning?
Okay, but
Does anyone, wait a minute, let me finish the story, because people who are in Congress and who choose to be on the federal program pay for it. Now, does the federal government make a contribution? Yes. Do all employees who participate in a healthcare program make contributions to their employees? Yes. So, but you said that we're not going into the exchange, and neither are staffs. That's not true. They are going into
I
the
didn't
exchange.
say you weren't going into that. I said you weren't paying the full cost.
All right, so you work for the federal government, right? So you work for the federal government, and they pay a salary and they pay a benefit. So only members of Congress and their staffs shouldn't get a benefit? How is that fair? How is that right?
That you guys vote in laws and stuff that we.
Wait a minute, so what?
The individual,
what do we vote in?
The individual mandate is the only thing that's going to be enforced,
But
right? But not the business
What
mandate.
does the law say? The law says that for people who do not have insurance, that there would be a way for 44 million people who don't have insurance to get it. Where would they get it? They would get it in an exchange. How would they get it? They would get it by applying to that. Yes, it does apply to all individuals. People with below 50 employees were exempt. And as they roll out particular programs, depending upon how it impacts individuals, because you may recall that the president said, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. That's what I was saying before when I said that 90% of all people are not impacted by this law. The idea was to help the 44 million people get insurance, reform the system so that people with pre-existing conditions, maybe no one in your family has a health concern, but I don't know many people that don't. Maybe you're of the age where you don't need a physical, where you don't need a checkup. Maybe your kids don't need to stay on your policy. Maybe you don't need your health care cost cap because you don't fear a health disease or care could have me lose my mortgage or my home. But that was the objective of the bill. And so to now, for people to say that, and I get this all the time, I said publicly that if my staff was told that they couldn't get benefits for a federal program that every other federal employee would get, that's discrimination. Why shouldn't they get the same contribution that somebody who works for the Federal Department of Transportation, or the FBI, or the CIA, or NASA, or our military, all who get contributions from the federal government? Why wouldn't the federal government give a contribution to a congressional staffer making $30,000 a year?
As I understand it, because the only thing that's going to affect is the individual mandate.
Right, but what happened is this. Chuck Grassley, and this became a political point, said, well, if this is good enough for everybody, then people in Congress ought to be willing to go into the exchange. And they passed an amendment that's in the bill that says you will go into the exchange. It was silent on how it would be paid for. So that caused speculation, and even some people left government because they said, I can't survive if I don't have health care benefits for my family. To which conservative Tom Coburn out of Oklahoma said, I'm going to hold up all Obama appointments until we resolve this issue for federal employees who happen to be in the United States Congress who shouldn't be discriminated against because they work for the Congress. How does that make sense? So he did, and the administration said, yes, you will go into the exchange, but you will receive the contribution that everyone receives from the federal government. I mean, that's what all the rhubarb is about. So it isn't about, Congressman, now, with respect to, did you read the bill? This is my favorite question. I was the chairman of the caucus. You know how many versions of the health care bill we passed? 3. You know how many pages they were? About 2,000 pages, roughly. I had those pages read to the caucus. First time, it took us over 8 hours to read the bill to the members, section by section, based on the 3 different committees that were writing the bill. The Commerce Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, and the Education and Labor Committee, all of which have different sections in the bill. Why? Because we were building on a system, as I said before, that has been cattywampus over all the years. It's a private employer system that we put on top of Medicare, Medicaid in the state level. And so anytime you change the law, it changes all those various rules and regulations. One comma and paragraph forces you to rewrite a whole section of the bill. Yes, it was cumbersome. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, the bill is imperfect and it needs corrections. But the goal of the bill was to make sure that people had insurance coverage who didn't have it and whose costs were being shifted to you and your family. So
you're saying now with this bill, there'll be nobody in this country that doesn't have insurance?
no.
30 million people are not going to be covered.
Even with this, no, about 30 million people are eligible to be covered. But even with this bill, we still have gaps that exist. Like I said, it's not a perfect bill. But I believe that with what can happen in terms of driving out the inefficiencies, which isn't that what we should be talking about here? You don't really care, I don't think, who gets health insurance. You want everybody to get it. But what you don't want to see is preferential treatment or some people left out and other people not treated well. We have a system that depending upon who writes your benefits, you can work for a company and they can give you extraordinary benefits, right? You can work for another company and you may not have as good as benefits. And companies, exactly, and companies choose to give benefits based on how they want to attract employees. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the system that we evolved into. So what the president said, and if you're with this company, that's giving you good benefits, well, that's not gonna change. They're gonna continue to give you your benefits. You're not impacted. If you're one of those people that doesn't have insurance, or even if you were one of those employers, and I believe there's a lot of them out there, who wanted to give their employees insurance but couldn't afford it. Look at the cost of insurance leading up to this point, and where it is. Someone, I forget who mentioned before, tort reform being, and the cost as it relates to medical expenses. That was an important factor. But so was medical devices, pharmaceutical, hospitals, doctors, and insurance itself. So the culprit here